What if everything you've been told about protecting your eyesight was only half the story? What if the solution to blurry vision, dry, burning eyes, and the slow, terrifying fade of your sight wasn't sitting in a pharmacy shelf, wasn't in a bottle of overpriced eye drops, and had absolutely nothing to do with carrots? What if it was something so small, so ancient, so wildly overlooked, that the moment you hear it, your first reaction is going to be disbelief? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes has the potential to completely change how you think about your eyes, your health, and the way your body actually heals itself. This isn't a sales pitch. This isn't hype. This is biology. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand your eyes in a way that most people never will, including, frankly, most of the people who hand you prescriptions. Let's start with something real. Right now, over 2.2 billion people around the world are living with some form of vision impairment. That's nearly 1 in 4 human beings on this planet who are struggling to see clearly. And the numbers are getting worse every single year. We're spending more time staring at screens. We're sleeping less. We're eating processed food stripped of the very nutrients our eyes are starving for. And yet, the mainstream advice we keep getting handed is the same recycled talking points. Eat your carrots, use artificial tears, get glasses, come back next year for a stronger prescription. Nobody is asking why. Nobody is getting to the root of what's actually happening inside your eye tissue at the cellular level. And that's exactly where this conversation begins. Your eyes are not simple organs. They are, pound for pound, one of the most metabolically active and nutrient-demanding structures in your entire body. The retina alone, that thin, delicate layer at the back of your eye that converts light into the images you see, consumes more oxygen per gram of tissue than almost any other part of you. That means it is highly vulnerable, highly sensitive. And when the right nutrients aren't flowing to it consistently, it begins to degrade, slowly at first, then faster. And most people don't even notice until the damage is already done. So, when your eye doctor tells you your vision has gotten worse since last year, what they're really telling you, whether they know it or not, is that your retinal tissue has continued to deteriorate, that the oxidative stress building up inside your eye has not been addressed, that the inflammation, the poor circulation, the free radical damage, none of it has been reversed. It's just been measured. And you've been handed a stronger lens to compensate for it. That is not treatment, that is management. And there is a massive life-changing difference between those two things. Now, here's where the tiny seed comes in, and I want you to really pay attention here, because what I'm about to describe to you has been studied in clinical research, documented in peer-reviewed literature, and used for centuries in traditional medicine systems across the Middle East, South Asia, and North Africa, yet remains almost completely unknown in Western wellness conversations about eye health. The seed is called Nigella Sativa. You may have heard it called black seed. Some people call it black cumin. Others call it Kalonji, especially in South Asian cooking. In the ancient world, it was called the seed of blessing. And in one of the most famous quotes in Islamic medicine, it was described as a cure for everything except death. Now, bold claims like that tend to get dismissed in modern science, until you actually look at the research. And when you do, what you find is extraordinary. Nigella sativa contains a compound called thymoquinone. Say that slowly, thymoquinone. This molecule is, without exaggeration, one of the most powerful naturally occurring anti-inflammatory and antioxidant compounds that researchers have ever studied. And when it comes to your eyes specifically, it does something that synthetic eye drops simply cannot do. It doesn't just sit on the surface of your eye. It works at the cellular level, inside the tissue, inside the mitochondria of your retinal cells, neutralizing the oxidative damage that causes vision to deteriorate in the first place. Let me explain what oxidative stress actually means for your eyes, because this is crucial. Every single day, your retinal cells are bombarded with light, UV light, blue light from screens, natural daylight. That exposure generates free radicals. These are unstable molecules that essentially attack your cells, breaking down the delicate structures that make vision possible. Your body has natural antioxidant defenses to fight this. But here's the problem. As you age, those defenses weaken. As your diet gets worse, they weaken further. As you spend more time on screens, the assault intensifies. And eventually, the damage starts winning. The result is blurred vision. Floaters. Dry eyes, sensitivity to light. The early stages of conditions like macular degeneration and cataracts. And what doctors typically offer at this point is, again, management. Supplements with standard doses of lutein and zinc. Artificial tears. Recommendations to wear sunglasses, all helpful to some degree, but none of them address the root of the oxidative cascade the way Thymoquinone does. Multiple studies have shown that Thymoquinone is a direct scavenger of free radicals. It boosts the body's production of its own antioxidant enzymes, specifically superoxide dismutase and catalase, which are the same enzymes your body uses to protect your retinal cells. It reduces levels of malondialdehyde, which is a key marker of oxidative damage in eye tissue. In plain language, it helps your eyes defend themselves, not from the outside, from within. Now you might be wondering, okay, but what about the study specifically on eyes? Because I'm not just going to tell you that something is a good antioxidant and ask you to assume it helps vision. Let's get specific. Research published in peer-reviewed ophthalmology and pharmacology journals has documented that Nigella Sativa extract has measurable protective effects on the lens of the eye, particularly against the kind of damage that leads to cataracts. Cataracts happen when the proteins in your lens become oxidized and start to clump together, clouding your vision. The lens has almost no blood supply. It relies entirely on the fluid around it for nutrients and antioxidant protection. And when that protection fails, cloudiness begins. Studies have shown that Thymoquinone actually inhibits the oxidation of lens proteins. It keeps them clearer, more organized, more functional. This is not a theoretical benefit. This is documented at the biochemical level. Additionally, research has explored the effects of Nigella Sativa on intraocular pressure. That's the pressure inside your eye that, when elevated, damages the optic nerve and leads to glaucoma, one of the most feared silent thieves of sight in the world. Nigella Sativa has been studied for its potential to modulate this pressure through multiple mechanisms, including its anti-inflammatory pathways and its effects on fluid dynamics in the eye. The results are preliminary in terms of human clinical trials, but the mechanistic evidence is compelling enough that researchers in ophthalmology are paying serious attention. And then there's the issue of diabetic retinopathy, the damage to blood vessels in the retina caused by chronically high blood sugar. This is the leading cause of blindness in working-age adults worldwide. It is devastating, and it is becoming more common every single year as rates of type 2 diabetes continue to climb globally. Studies on Nigella Sativa have shown that Thymoquinone has protective effects on retinal blood vessels in the context of high glucose environments. It reduces the leakage and inflammation that damages those vessels. It protects the retinal neurons themselves from glucose-induced toxicity. In animal models of diabetic retinopathy, the results have been striking enough to prompt calls for larger human clinical trials. But let me pull back for a moment, because I want to make sure you're seeing the full picture here. No pun intended. The question isn't just whether Nigella Sativa has these individual properties. The deeper question is why, when something with this profile exists. Is it not the first thing every eye doctor reaches for in a conversation about protecting vision? And the honest answer to that question is uncomfortable but important. The modern medical system is built around patentable solutions. Pharmaceutical companies invest billions in developing drugs that can be patented, manufactured at scale, and sold at enormous margins. A seed that has grown in the ground for thousands of years cannot be patented. It cannot be owned. And therefore, there is no financial engine driving clinical trials at the scale required to get it into mainstream medical guidelines. This is not a conspiracy. It is simply the economic reality of how healthcare research is funded. The incentive to study what cannot be monetized at scale is vanishingly small. This is why you've never had a doctor look you in the eye and say, "Before we talk about stronger glasses, let me tell you about Nigella Sativa," not because the science doesn't exist, but because the system isn't designed to deliver it. That's why conversations like this one matter, because information travels differently now, and people who are paying attention, people like you, are getting access to knowledge that used to live only in research papers and traditional medicine practices, and they're using it to make better decisions about their own health. So, let's talk about how this actually works in practical terms. How do you use Nigella Sativa for eye health? What forms is it available in? What does the evidence suggest about dosage and consistency? The most bioavailable form, meaning the form your body can actually absorb and use most efficiently, is cold-pressed black seed oil. This is the oil extracted from Nigella Sativa seeds without heat, which preserves the Thymoquinone content, and the full spectrum of other active compounds including beta-sitosterol, carvacrol, and various essential fatty acids that support ocular health independently. Cold-pressed is key. Heat-processed oils or low-quality extracts may contain significantly reduced levels of the active compounds, and you simply won't get the same effect. You can also consume the whole seeds. Toasted lightly and consumed, ground into food, or taken raw, the seeds have a slightly bitter, peppery flavor with hints of oregano and onion. They are a staple in Middle Eastern cooking, sprinkled on bread, mixed into yogurt, added to rice dishes. Cultures that have used these seeds regularly for generations show lower rates of certain inflammatory and degenerative diseases, and researchers studying these populations have begun to connect the dots. In terms of how much to take, the research on Thymoquinone suggests that even modest daily amounts, in the range of 1 to 2 teaspoons of cold-pressed black seed oil per day, can produce measurable changes in antioxidant status and inflammatory markers. Some studies have used higher doses for specific therapeutic purposes, but for general eye protection and wellness, this range is well within what's been studied and tolerated in human trials. The seeds themselves can be used in larger culinary amounts without concern, as they are a food, not just a supplement. Consistency, as always, is everything. Your eyes did not start degrading overnight. The oxidative damage accumulated over years, and the healing process, the rebuilding of protective antioxidant capacity in your retinal tissue, happens gradually. People who add black seed oil to their daily routine often report that it takes 4 to 6 weeks before they begin to notice changes: subtler eye strain, less dryness, improved comfort in bright light. The deeper structural benefits, the protection against long-term degenerative disease, operate on an even longer timeline. This is not a one-week fix. This is a lifestyle change. And here's something critically important that doesn't get mentioned in most conversations about eye health. The eyes do not exist in isolation. They are connected to every other system in your body through blood vessels, nerve pathways, the lymphatic system, and metabolic processes that run continuously throughout your life. What damages your cardiovascular system damages your eyes. What inflames your gut inflames your retinal tissue. What spikes your blood sugar attacks your optic nerves. And what protects your cells systemically also protects the cells behind your eyes. This is why Nigella Sativa's benefits extend so far beyond just vision. Its anti-inflammatory properties help reduce the systemic inflammation that underlies almost every chronic disease, including the ones that destroy eyes over time. Its metabolic benefits, the research showing it can improve insulin sensitivity and support healthy blood sugar levels, directly protect against diabetic eye disease. Its cardiovascular effects, supporting healthy blood pressure and circulation, ensure that the tiny, fragile blood vessels feeding your retina receive the oxygenated blood they need to function and repair. When you take care of your body with something as comprehensively active as Nigella Sativa, your eyes benefit not just from the direct antioxidant protection at the ocular level, but from the entire downstream cascade of a healthier, less inflamed, better nourished body. That is something no single ingredient eye drop will ever be able to replicate. Now let's talk about carrots for a moment, because I don't want you to think I'm dismissing them entirely. Carrots contain beta-carotene, which your body converts to vitamin A. And vitamin A is genuinely essential for vision, specifically for the production of rhodopsin, the pigment in your rod cells that allows you to see in low light. Severe vitamin A deficiency causes night blindness and, in extreme cases, complete blindness. This is a real and serious public health issue in parts of the world where food security is poor. But here's the critical nuance that rarely gets explained. If you are eating a reasonably varied diet, you are almost certainly not vitamin A deficient. Most people in countries with access to diverse food are not suffering from impaired vision because they lack beta-carotene. They are suffering because of oxidative damage, inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction in their retinal cells, compromised blood flow to their optic nerves, and accelerated degeneration from chronic lifestyle and dietary patterns that strip their eyes of the full spectrum of protection they need. Eating more carrots will not fix any of that. But a compound like Thymoquinone, working at the level of your cell's actual defense and repair machinery, addresses the root of the problem in a way that a glass of carrot juice simply cannot. This is the paradigm shift, moving from eat this one food for this one nutrient because it prevents this one deficiency, to understanding that your eye health is a complex, systemic, ongoing biological process that requires comprehensive antioxidant protection, anti-inflammatory support, and cellular nourishment at the deepest level. That's the conversation we need to be having, and that's the conversation that Nigella Sativa actually belongs in. Let me also address something that some of you might be wondering right now, which is whether there are any risks or concerns with using black seed oil, because I believe in giving you the full picture, not just the exciting half. Nigella Sativa has a long history of use as both a food and a medicine, and is generally considered very safe for most people at culinary and supplemental doses. However, there are some important considerations. Because of its blood-thinning properties, people who are on anticoagulant medications, blood thinners like warfarin, should consult their doctor before adding significant amounts to their routine. Similarly, because of its effects on blood sugar, people on diabetes medication should monitor their levels and work with a healthcare provider, since the combined effect can sometimes be more powerful than expected. Pregnant women are traditionally advised to avoid large therapeutic doses, as black seed has historically been used to stimulate uterine contractions. And as with anything, quality matters enormously. If you're buying black seed oil, look for cold-pressed, organic, single-origin options with third-party testing for purity. The supplement market is crowded with low-quality products, and not all black seed oils are created equal. None of these considerations make Nigella Sativa dangerous in any categorical sense. They simply mean, as with anything that actually has biological activity, you should approach it thoughtfully and ideally in conversation with a healthcare provider who is open-minded enough to engage with the evidence. Now I want to take a step back and talk about something broader, because this video isn't just about one seed. It's about a way of thinking. It's about asking better questions when it comes to your health. It's about understanding that the human body has been on this earth for hundreds of thousands of years, and that throughout most of that time, it found everything it needed to heal, protect, and repair itself in the natural world. The crisis of modern health is not primarily a crisis of missing pharmaceutical molecules. It is a crisis of disconnection from whole foods, from rest, from movement, and from the extraordinary complexity of natural compounds that our biology was literally shaped to interact with. Seeds like Nigella Sativa were not just food to the civilizations that used them. They were medicine. They were pharmacy. They were healthcare in the most intimate and sophisticated sense. Compounds with dozens of active molecules working together in ways that produce effects no single synthetic drug can replicate, because no single drug is designed to address all the pathways that nature touches simultaneously. This is why Thymoquinone doesn't just fight one type of free radical in your eye. It upregulates your body's entire antioxidant defense network. It doesn't just reduce one inflammatory marker. It modulates multiple inflammatory pathways at once. It doesn't just protect one cell type. It works in the lens, the retina, the blood vessels, and the neurons simultaneously. That kind of multi-targeted, system-wide protection is what your eyes actually need. And it comes from something so small you could hold 1,000 of them in the palm of your hand. Think about the implications of that for a moment. We live in an era where the solution to a problem is almost always presented as something you need to buy from a company, something manufactured in a facility, something that requires a prescription or, at minimum, a credit card transaction. And yet, here is something that grows in fields across the Middle East and South Asia that has been pressed into oil and consumed by human beings for literally thousands of years. That contains molecules so sophisticated, they're still being studied by biochemists today. And it may do more for the long-term health of your eyes than anything sitting in the eye care aisle of your pharmacy. That is not a criticism of modern medicine. Modern medicine saves lives every single day in ways that are nothing short of miraculous. But preventive health, the daily choices that determine whether your eyes are going to be clear and strong at 70 the same way they were at 30, that is a different domain. That is the domain of nutrition, of antioxidants, of inflammation management, of understanding what your cells actually need to survive and thrive over decades. And in that domain, the most powerful tools are often the oldest ones. So, what do you actually do with this information? Here's how I'd encourage you to think about it. Start with your diet. If your diet is high in processed foods, refined sugar, and seed oils, your body is in a state of chronic inflammation that is actively degrading your eye tissue along with everything else. The single most powerful thing you can do for your vision long term is to reduce that inflammatory load. More whole foods, more color on your plate, not from dyes, but from vegetables and fruits rich in lutein, zeaxanthin, vitamin C, vitamin E, and zinc. These are the nutrients that build the protective pigment layer in your macula and the antioxidant defenses in your lens. Add Nigella Sativa to that foundation. 1 to 2 teaspoons of cold-pressed black seed oil daily, or incorporate the seeds into your cooking regularly. Not as a magic cure, not as a replacement for medical care if you're dealing with a diagnosed eye condition, but as a powerful evidence-backed daily practice that works at the cellular level to protect and support the health of your eyes over time. Protect your eyes from unnecessary damage. Wear quality, UV protective sunglasses outdoors. Take regular breaks from screens. The 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. Reduce your exposure to blue light in the evening hours, both because it strains your eyes and because it disrupts the sleep that your body uses to repair and regenerate tissue. Sleep is not optional for your eyes. During deep sleep, your cells clear out metabolic waste, repair oxidative damage, and replenish the antioxidant reserves that protect your retina the following day. When you're chronically sleep deprived, you're chronically running your eyes on empty. Stay hydrated. This sounds almost too simple, but your eye's natural fluid systems, the aqueous humor that maintains eye pressure, the tear film that lubricates your surface, the vitreous gel that fills your eye, all depend on adequate hydration to function properly. Dry, irritated eyes are often a hydration problem before they're anything else. And when your tissues are dehydrated, every other nutrient you consume is delivered less efficiently to where it needs to go. And finally, get regular eye exams. Not because your prescription is the only thing that matters, but because a skilled eye doctor can see early signs of conditions like macular degeneration, glaucoma, and diabetic retinopathy before you are symptomatic puyas, and early detection genuinely changes outcomes. The goal of everything in this video is to support and protect the health of your eyes proactively. But that proactive effort works best alongside, not instead of, professional monitoring. Your eyes have been working for you every moment of every day since the moment you were born. They've processed billions of images, navigated you through darkness and light, let you read the faces of the people you love, and shown you every beautiful thing you've ever seen. They deserve more than an annual prescription update and a bottle of artificial tears. They deserve real nourishment, real protection, real understanding of what they need and why. Nigella Sativa, this tiny, ancient, extraordinary seed, is one of the most powerful tools available to you for that purpose. Not because of hype, not because of marketing, but because of what happens at the deepest level of your biology when Thymoquinone reaches your retinal cells and your lens tissue and your optic nerve blood vessels and says, "I've got you." Share this video with someone you care about. The person in your life who squints at the TV, who keeps updating their glasses prescription, who complains about dry eyes every morning, who is quietly worried about what their vision is going to look like in 10 or 20 years. Give them this. Give them the conversation that nobody else is having with them, because awareness is where everything begins. And the earlier someone understands how to protect their eyes at the root level, the more years of clear, healthy, vibrant vision they get to keep. Take care of your eyes. They are irreplaceable, and now you know how.